think about it in the business world. If you don't really grasp what makes your customers tick, you're essentially flying blind.
Totally. You really are.
And these days, a standard one-size-fits-all approach, it just doesn't cut it anymore.
No way. People crave experiences, products tailored specifically to them, like that perfect custom item you mentioned.
Exactly. Miss those signals, and you risk putting something out there that just, well, falls flat.
Right. And
Yeah.
then you're left struggling to keep up, let alone compete.
The modern customer, they've really evolved, haven't they?
They absolutely have. Generic stuff just gets lost in all the noise.
Yeah.
And businesses that don't make that real effort to understand individual needs, they face a serious risk of being left behind.
Okay. So in this deep dive, we're tackling a pretty crucial question. How can businesses, even, smaller ones or startups, move past just guessing?
And really connect with what customers actually desire in today's, well, very fast-paced environment.
Yes. We've looked into a whole range of methods, some really powerful ones, stuff from, like, just asking directly.
The straightforward approach.
Yeah, to more subtle ways of understanding their behavior, We'll get into surveys, the insights hidden in how people interact with your website or your store,
Behavioral stuff.
what people are chattering about on social media, keeping an eye on competitors,
Definitely. Can't forget them.
tapping into all that public data that's out there, the smart way of doing small-scale tests, and the real value of building solid customer relationships.
And the key thing here, I think, the really crucial element to remember is we're not aiming to just drown you in data.
Right.
The mission is to zero in on those key insights, that actionable understanding you can actually use to make decisions that matter.
Okay, love that. So let's kick things off with maybe the most direct route. Just reaching out and, well, asking your customers what's on their minds.
Makes sense.
Our sources really spotlight surveys and polls as, like, super efficient tools for this. And you've got these really accessible platforms now, right? Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, Typeform.
Yeah, they make it pretty easy to set something up.
What's interesting is that sometimes if you ask the right questions, you can uncover needs customers haven't even really articulated themselves.
Or maybe figure out where your own perceptions as a business are a bit off from reality. Absolutely. These platforms let you gather structured feedback on, well, pretty much anything. Overall satisfaction, specific product preferences, service issues, even finding new ideas for what to do next.
And we found this great example, actually, a small boutique coffee shop. They wanted to jazz up their seasonal menu.
Okay.
So they ran a quick poll on their social media, just asking, what flavors people were into.
Simple enough.
Turns out there was this real interest in unique, locally sourced ingredients.
Ah, okay. So specific.
Very specific. They listened. They launched an organic chai latte with exactly those kinds of ingredients, and boom, a 15% jump in sales.
Wow, 15%. That's significant.
It really is. That's a proper aha moment, isn't it? Understanding that specific desire for those ingredients had a real tangible impact.
It really does underscore the power of, directly engaging like that. And then crucially, taking action based on what you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, social media isn't just for polls. It offers so many ways for that real-time interaction. Q&As, just keeping an eye on the comments.
Yeah, the comment threads can be gold mines.
It's like a continuous stream of
Right.
insight into how people are feeling, what they're talking about.
Definitely. There was another good one, a fitness apparel brand. They used an Instagram poll
Fine.
asking about interest in a sustainable yoga wear line. The response, the engagement, was apparently huge.
Really?
Yeah, it clearly showed they had this strong connection with their, eco-conscious followers. That direct feedback didn't just say good idea, it really paved the way for a successful launch.
That validation is so important.
It is, and it's interesting how these platforms make it feel less like a formal survey, more like just part of the conversation.
Exactly, that two-way street. It feels more natural, less like an interrogation.
Right. So, okay, let's shift gears a bit. From asking directly to, well, watching what customers do. Because sometimes actions speak louder.
They often do, yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings us to getting insights from customer behavior.
And our sources really hammer home the importance of website analytics here. Tools like Google Analytics.
The standard, yeah.
They can show some really revealing patterns, like which pages people stick around on the longest, what
Yeah.
makes them, bounce off a site
The
quickly.
dreaded bounce rates.
Exactly. And which products or services are really grabbing their attention. It's not just counting clicks, is it? It's understanding the intent behind them.
Precisely. Like if someone spends ages on a specific blog post but doesn't buy the related product,
Hmm.
that might tell you they're looking for information maybe not ready to buy yet. It's nuance.
Yeah, understanding that difference.
These metrics create this kind of digital footprint of what people are interested in.
Mm.
If you see lots of time spent on one product page, that's a strong signal.
And the flip side.
Well, a high bounce rate on another page could mean the content isn't relevant. Or maybe the page itself is just hard to use.
And we've got a perfect example of this, a subscription box service.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They noticed traffic was really spiking to their eco-friendly section way more than other sections.
Interesting. So a clear trend.
Yeah, they realized this wasn't just casual browsing, it was genuine interest in sustainability. So what did they do? They brought in more eco-friendly options.
Smart response.
And it worked. Engagement went up with their current customers, and they attracted a whole new crowd focused on sustainable living.
That's a great case study. Observing behavior, making a change, seeing the positive results.
It really is.
And this flows really nicely into the idea of customer journey mapping.
Ah, yes, mapping the journey. Explain that a bit more.
So it's basically creating a visual map, right, of every single interaction a customer has with your business.
Every single one.
Pretty much. From how they first hear about you, how they look at products, the checkout process, even like calling customer support later.
Okay, the whole life cycle.
Exactly. And by mapping all these touch points, you can start to see where things are going. Well, the moments of delight, but also, and this is key, where they might be hitting snags or getting frustrated.
Like pain points.
Precisely. Think about maybe a confusing form online, or pages loading really slowly, or maybe no follow-up after they buy something.
Right, things that annoy you as a customer.
Yeah. These pop up on the map as potential pain points. And having that visual overview helps businesses really step into the customer's shoes, see where their needs aren't being met at each stage.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like walking the path with them.
Kinda, yeah. Seeing the process through their eyes.
Okay. Now, another really fascinating area is tuning into what people are saying, but maybe not directly to you, which brings us to social media listening.
Right. So this is less about your own channels and more about the wider web. Using special tools, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, Brandwatch are common ones.
Okay.
To monitor conversations happening across social media, forums, review sites, blogs, everywhere, really.
So you're sort of eavesdropping, but in a data-driven, totally legitimate way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you could put it like that. It's about tapping into the general vibe, the customer sentiment out there, spotting trends as they emerge, picking up on new preferences related to your brand, or even your whole industry.
What kind of things do these tools track?
Things like sentiment analysis are mentions positive, negative, neutral. How often is your brand being mentioned? What related topics are buzzing right now?
Got it. So it's like having your finger on the pulse of the online world.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
And we saw this great example with a skincare brand doing exactly this, active social listening.
Ah, did they find?
They noticed this growing buzz, lots of chatter around natural ingredients and products for sensitive skin.
Ah, a trend bubbling up.
Exactly. And their reaction was quick. They launched a fragrance-free line to meet that demand.
And the result?
A significant sales increase. That speed, being able to react quickly because they were listening, that seems like a huge advantage.
It really does. Being agile, responsive.
Yeah, responding to those shifts in demand. Maybe even before customers ask you directly. Traditional methods might miss that timing.
Okay, interesting. Now, what about looking sideways at the competition?
Competitor analysis.
Yeah.
Super important.
Our sources definitely stress this. And it's not just about copying, right?
No, definitely not. It's about understanding what they offer, what their customers are saying, the good and the bad.
Right, reading their reviews.
Yeah, and figuring out their overall strategies.
Yeah.
By looking closely at their products, their marketing, those customer reviews,
Yeah.
you can spot gaps.
Gaps.
Yeah, unfulfilled needs, things customers want that your competitors aren't providing.
Yeah.
And that gap can be your opportunity to stand out, to differentiate yourself.
That makes sense. Finding your niche by seeing where others aren't playing.
Exactly. It could be a goldmine for finding your unique selling proposition.
And we have a neat illustration of this. A home meal kit service.
Okay, meal kits. Competitive market.
Very. They noticed one of their big rivals didn't really offer any dedicated vegan options.
Okay. A specific gap.
Yep. They saw that unmet need and strategically launched their own comprehensive vegan line.
Bold move. How did it go?
Really well. They attracted a whole new customer segment, people specifically looking for vegan kits, and ended up expanding their overall market share quite a bit.
See, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Looking at what competitors aren't doing led to real growth.
It really shows you need to look outwards at the whole landscape, not just inwards at your own customers sometimes.
Absolutely. It's about seeing the bigger picture.
Now, okay, some people listening might be thinking, this all sounds great, but gathering all this insight, doesn't that cost a fortune?
That's a fair concern, especially for smaller businesses.
But our sources point towards something really valuable and often overlooked. Publicly available data and industry reports?
Right. There's a ton of information out there. Government databases, academic research, reports from places like Pew Research or Statista.
And a lot of this is free or pretty low cost, isn't it?
Often, yes. Or they have accessible summaries. And they're packed with info on consumer spending, demographics, wider economic trends, things that affect buying habits.
So you can get a sense of the big picture, the macro trends, without doing tons of your own expensive surveys.
Exactly. Government data might give you insights into local economic conditions, for example. Industry reports often do deep dives into specific consumer habits relevant to your sector.
And the source mentioned that even the free summaries often have really practical takeaways.
Yeah, absolutely. Practical insights you can apply to different parts of your business, marketing, product development, you name it.
So it's like tapping into this huge reservoir of knowledge that's just sitting there.
Pretty much. Waiting to be used to help you build a more complete picture of your market and your potential customers. It's about leveraging all the resources available.
Okay, smart. So we've covered asking directly, watching behavior, listening online, checking competitors, using public data. What's a sensible next step once you have some ideas brewing?
Well, the sources really emphasize not being afraid to test things out on a small scale first.
Dipping your toe in the water.
Exactly. Think A/B testing, different website headlines, maybe running a pilot program for new service with just a few customers.
Low-risk ways to see what works.
Precisely. Before you commit significant time or money, these small tests are invaluable for checking your assumptions, tweaking the customer experience, getting real-world data on how people react before a big launch.
And one specific method mentioned was beta programs, right?
Yes. Beta programs are fantastic. You invite a select group of customers, often loyal ones, to try out a new product or feature while it's still in development.
So they get early access and you get
In-depth feedback on usability, functionality, bugs, overall satisfaction, everything. You get to hear directly from real users before it goes public.
That sounds incredibly useful for ironing out kinks.
Oh, it's crucial. It lets you refine your offering based on actual user experiences, which massively increases the chances of a successful launch, and it helps ensure what you're building really aligns with what people need and expect.
Okay, that makes total sense. Now, amidst all this data, analytics, testing, let's not forget the human element.
Absolutely critical. Building strong, genuine relationships with customers can yield some of the deepest insights.
And our source pointed to customer service interactions as being just packed with feedback.
A potential goldmine, truly. Those conversations often highlight common frustrations, recurring problems, specific things customers wish were different or better.
So it's not just about solving the immediate problem.
No, it's about listening actively during those interactions, asking good follow-up questions, really trying to understand the underlying needs or preferences behind the complaint or query.
Digging a bit deeper.
Exactly.
We saw a great example of this, a clothing retailer. They made a point of actively seeking feedback after big purchases.
How did they do that?
They specifically asked about sizing experiences, style preferences, things like that.
Getting post-purchase feedback on the specifics.
Yes. And that direct feedback loop allowed them to tailor their future collections much more effectively.
And the result?
Higher customer satisfaction, more repeat business. It just shows how you can turn those individual chats into broader, really useful insights for the whole business.
That's a brilliant example. And loyalty programs can be another great way to keep that conversation going.
Beyond just points and discounts.
Yeah. They give you a channel to periodically survey your most dedicated customers. Ask them what they value most, what new things they'd like to see. They're often your most engaged critics and cheerleaders.
So it really fosters that ongoing dialogue, doesn't it? It's not just about the sale.
Exactly. It's about building a relationship, a continuous feedback loop.
Okay, so we've explored all these fantastic strategies for understanding customers better, but let's be real, it's not always easy, is it? Our source did touch on some of the challenges companies face.
No, it definitely isn't straightforward.
Yeah.
A big hurdle is just making sure the data you collect is accurate and actually represents your whole customer base, not just a small focal group.
Right. Avoiding that bias.
Yeah, and feedback can be skewed sometimes just by how you ask the questions or who chooses to respond.
And then even if you have decent data, figuring out what it means, that can be tricky too, right?
Oh, definitely. Customer behavior is complex. There's so many factors. Without a clear plan for analysis, it's easy to misread the signals or miss important underlying trends. Plus, let's be honest, customers aren't always upfront. Or sometimes they don't even consciously know what they truly want until they see it.
That classic faster horse problem.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, preferences change. They're always evolving because of new trends, tech, societal shifts. It's a moving target,
So you constantly have to keep listening.
constantly. And the final challenge I mentioned was just integrating everything. Pulling together insights from surveys, website data, social listening, competitor
Well,
research.
Making sense of it all together.
Exactly. And then building a coherent strategy
Yeah.
based on that combined understanding is definitely a multi-layered challenge. Requires real effort.
Yeah, it's clearly an ongoing process.
It really is. It demands a continuous commitment to learning, to adapting. Recognizing that truly understanding your customer isn't a destination you reach, it's a journey you're always on.
So wrapping this up, it feels incredibly clear, doesn't it? Having that deep, nuanced understanding of what customers truly want. It's not just nice to have, it's absolutely essential.
Couldn't agree more. For any business aiming to not just survive, but actually thrive today.
Especially now.
Especially now, yeah. In this environment where people increasingly expect things tailored just for them, personalized solutions, the businesses that genuinely listen and adapt consistently, they're the ones who will gain that significant competitive edge, no question.
And the encouraging thing from everything we've discussed is that there's this whole toolkit of strategies out there.
Right, from just asking simple questions.
To observing behavior, analyzing data in smarter ways.
And the great news, really, is that even small businesses, startups,
Yeah.
they can start using many of these methods without needing, a giant budget or a whole department of data scientists.
Accessible.
It can be, yes. The crucial first step is often just deciding to start somewhere, staying curious, being willing to adjust your approach based on what you learn.
Okay, so a final thought then for you listening. Take a moment, think about your own context, maybe your business, or even just the businesses you buy from. Which of these strategies we talked about today, which one do you think could make the biggest difference in really understanding customers better? And maybe, how could you take just one small step, maybe this week, to start implementing it?
Yeah, how could you start building those stronger connections, those serving those needs?
Definitely something to chew on. Hopefully this deep dive has given you some valuable starting points for that exploration.